There are moments in history where one quiz tells you everything about Simone's character. And according to people who know the situation, one of those moments happened early one quiet morning in Montecito. A morning when Meghan Markle, frustrated, jealous, and tired of being in the shadows, allegedly made a decision that shocked even people who used to support her. The claim is simple but disturbing. She wanted the media to publish a story that would embarrass Princess Catherine while Catherine was recovering from cancer, not during a regular week, not during a slow news time, during the most vulnerable moment of Catherine's entire life. The question that runs through every royal watcher's mind is a simply on. What kind of person picks that exact moment to attack? People say the move didn't come from anger alone. It came from something deeper, something darker. A burning resentment that Catherine, despite being sick, despite the weight of the future crown, still looked calm, polished, and loved by millions. Meghan couldn't stand that. And according to those close to her world, she needed the world to stop praising Catherine, even if it meant pushing a story that cut straight into another woman's dignity. This was the moment the line stopped blurring. This was the morning everything changed. And it leads us to the next part of the story, the headline itself. The headline looked innocent at first glance. Just a question. Just a curiosity. Just a whisper in print. But headlines are designed to do one thing, shock you before you even click. And this one did exactly that. It boldly suggested Princess Catherine was wearing a wig while recovering from cancer. But what made it worse? What made it manipulative was that anyone who actually read the full article quickly learned the truth. The story contradicted its own headline. Deep inside the article, buried beneath paragraphs of filler, the writer quietly admitted Catherine was not wearing a wig at all. It was her real hair styled and cared for with dignity. So why run that headline? Why word it in a way that would spark rumors before readers even reached a second paragraph? Because that's how a smear works. Headlines become weapons. They're the first punch. People rarely read the details. What they remember is the shock, the doubt, the feeling of maybe something is off. And people say this headline didn't just appear out of nowhere. It didn't magically land across multiple outlets in the same day. These kinds of coordinated stories often require some pushing, whispering, suggesting, or feeding information to media insiders, someone who needed the world to see Catherine not as a future queen, but as a weakened figure hiding behind fake beauty. It was calculated, it was precise, and it was cruel. But the most chilling part wasn't even the headline itself. It was what the headline meant for Catherine's long-term public image. A detail most people don't think about. To understand why the wig story caused such outrage, you first have to understand the woman at the center of it. Catherine isn't just a royal figure or a future queen. She is a mother of 3, a dedicated wife, and someone who carries the expectations of dozens of countries every time she steps outside her door. But during this time, she was something even more fragile, a woman fighting cancer. Behind a very warm smile, behind every graceful public appearance, Catherine was walking through the shadows of fear. Anyone who has battled cancer or watched someone love battle it knows exactly what this means. It isn't just about losing hair or energy. It's about loss and uncertainty. Every day becomes a quiet question. Will I be okay? Yet even during treatment, even when her body was exhausted and her heart was heavy, Catherine insisted on keeping her dignity, not perfection, dignity. She still showed up for the people she represented. She still carried herself with humility. She still tried to offer a sense of stability and hope to the world. And most of all, she did what every strong woman does. She held her family together. This is why the wig headline felt so cruel. Because it didn't target a royal figure. It targeted a sick woman trying her best to show courage during the hardest battle of her life. But there's another reason the attack hit so deeply. One that lets us into the next chapter. There is a truth in this royal story that almost nobody talks about out loud, but everyone feels. Catherine does not compete with Meghan. Meghan competes with Catherine. From the moment Meghan entered the royal stage, comparisons followed her like a storm. Every outfit, every speech, every public appearance was weighed against Catherine's effortless calm. And according to people close to Meghan, this constant comparison dug deep into her spirit. The information paints a picture of a woman who woke up each day feeling overshadowed. Not because Catherine tried to outshine her. Catherine never played that game. But because Meghan wanted desperately to stand where Catherine stood with the same admiration, the same trust, the same natural connection with the public, but admiration cannot be forced, and trust cannot be demanded. So as Catherine continued her duties with grace, even through illness, Meghan's frustration grew. It built slowly, quietly, like a pot left on the stove with a lid rattling under the heat. People say this jealousy didn't come from Catherine doing anything wrong. It came from Catherine doing everything right. This jealousy is important to understand because it explains their son behind the most shocking part of the story, the Thanksgiving charity visit. An event that exposed exactly how differently these two women see the world. Thanksgiving is supposed to be a time of gratitude, a moment for reflection, kindness, and giving. Many celebrities try to use this day to do something good, to serve at food banks, help give out meals, or donate money, but the visit Meghan and Harry made to a well-known community kitchen carried a detail that very few people notice until now. According to people close to the event, the organization typically sells $3,000 volunteer packages to companies. That money not only supports the program, it gives the volunteers a chance to help prepare food and contribute to the cause. But Meghan and Harry allegedly did not pay the fee. Instead, a different deal was arranged. Harry would wear the branded apron and it long enough for photos to be taken, and once the pictures were captured, once the smiles were snapped, once the "we're here" moment was secured, Meghan reportedly told him, "Okay, you've worn it enough. We got the photos. Let's go." It wasn't charity. It wasn't service. It was a scene, a set, a photo opportunity designed to look generous without requiring any sacrifice. The organization didn't receive a donation from them. The volunteers didn't see any real hands-on involvement. It was simply a stagement designed for PR value. This is where the story reaches its turning point. Because once you see how Meghan approached charity with cameras instead of compassion, it becomes easier to understand why she might see Catherine's natural grace as a threat. Catherine doesn't need staged moments. Catherine doesn't need perfect angles. Catherine doesn't need to create love. She earns it without trying. And that contrast, according to people, is exactly what pushes Meghan toward darker decisions. If there is one word that defines Meghan's public life, it is presentation. Clothes, hair, lighting, camera angles, poses. Everything must fit a carefully planned picture of who she wants the world to believe she is. But this demand for perfect presentation becomes dark when paired with insecurity. Accordito people, Meghan has long struggled with her appearance, her hair, her identity, her features. She has spent years trying to reshape, refine, or reinvent how she looks. And as she grew more obsessed with controlling every part of her public image, she also became more sensitive to how Catherine needed to look flawless without effort. This becomes especially sharp when comparing the two women during Catherine's treatment. Here was Catherine battling cancer, facing fatigue, hair loss, worry, and fear, yet still managing to look composed and elegant during public duties. Not glamorous, not overly styled, but dignified. And that dignity hurt Meghan the most because dignity can't be bought. It can't be rehearsed. It can't be photoshopped. People say Meghan watched Catherine's public appearance with a mix of irritation and disbelief. She couldn't understand how a woman going through something so hard could still look so grounded, so calm, so regal. And this is exactly why the wig headline mattered. It wasn't about hair. It wasn't about wigs. It was about breaking the illusion of Catherine's Kampskapor, making the world question if her grace was real. But there is another battleground where Meghan's frustrations became even more visible. The children reveal the truth of a home. Their behavior, their posture, their clothes, their laughter. These things cannot be faked for long. And Catherine's children, George, Charlotte and Louis, have always reflected a home filled with structure, love, and grounding. They show natural expressions, messy hair moments, smiles, cheeky grins, and spontaneous stirs. They look like real children living real lives. But according to the people, the public images of Meghan children tell a different story. There are claims that their outfits often look dirty or mismatched. Claims that they appear stiff, overly posed, or strangely posation. Claims that their photos seem staged rather than spontaneous. And there are even more unsettling whispers that the children's appearance are controlled down to the tilt of the head, the direction of their gaze, the angle of their shoulders. Whispers that images look rehearsed, corrected, or curated as though the children are props in Meghan's wider PR narrative. Whether one believes every whisper or not, the contrast is undeniable. Catherine's children look lived in. Meghan's look arranged, and this comparison deepens the emotional distance between the two women. Catherine is able to present Mithrod as something natural. Meghan, according to people, treats it as another performance, another place where Ash needs to project an image rather than live a life. This difference spills over into how they are seen, judged, and measured. It adds pressure to Meghan. It adds envy and it adds resentment. But this tension reaches its sharpest point in the whispers that follow, the ones that swirl around Meghan's world with unanswered questions. In the end, this story is not just about wigs or headlines or charity visits or children's photos. It's about something much deeper, a human truth that has echoed through royal history for centuries. Envy is the quiet shadow that destroys everything it touches. Catherine stands today as a symbol of grace and suffering, a woman who battled illness with strength, who carried the weight of her role with humility, and who refused to let fear rob her of dignity. Yet, while Catherine fought cancer, people say Meghan fought something else entirely. The fear of disappearing, of being forgotten, of being seen as second best. And that fear turned into desperation. It turned into coordinated headlines. It turned into strategic leaks. It turned into attacks aimed at a woman who should have been protected, not humiliated. Catherine's story is one of resilience. Meghan's, according to this narrative, is one of erosion, a steady decline into chaos fueled by jealousy. She can no longer hide. But the most haunting part comes now. Because if this is what Meghan did while Catherine was vulnerable, what happens when Catherine rises again? When she returns stronger, more admired than ever, more loved, more respected, and more inspiring? What happens when the woman Meghan tried to destroy becomes the very figure who shines brightest? This is where the story ends. Not with Meghan's attack, but with Catherine's endurance. A reminder that cruelty may roar loudly for a moment, but dignity lasts a lifetime. And the world is watching, waiting, ready to see what happens next.